Hi there, everyone. Here's some of what's heading your way tonight to your news at 9.
Freezing drizzle kept roads dicey for today and for the night ahead of us. We'll see how Tuesday's looking with the first look at the forecast coming up.
Also going to hear about a master plan to improve several different aspects of Joplin parks.
Former President Trump's second impeachment trial kicks off in just hours. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. What both sides are saying about the case they plan to make coming up.
You may have connected the dots. Nick Kelly does have weather tonight. Danny Terzer has sports. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Treacherous roads conditions throughout the 4 states ever since yesterday, and it doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joins us now. Nick.
And you hit the nail right on the head, Jordan. Temperatures plenty cold for today. Certainly enough for drizzle to freeze right on contact as it made its way down from the skies above. 30 for an early morning high. Actually, the temperatures just tanked throughout the day. The lowest so far was 19. We've actually had some winter weather advisories trend back, but a good portion of southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, and northeast Oklahoma, we're holding on to those until midnight. And even after those expire, I expect some areas of freezing drizzle to continue throughout the course of the night. Again, drizzle, tricky to pick up on the radar, but some pockets of it are still out there making roads treacherous. And with temperatures this cold, it's not going anywhere. So if you have to be on the roads, be very careful if you have to get out and about tonight. At the very least, latest indications actually show some of us might get a little bit of a break in the action as we go into Tuesday afternoon, but temperatures stay cold, making the roads still very slick with highs only near 23. We'll see how the next several days look. Jordan, coming up in just a bit.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. The rough weather conditions are already leading some area school districts to close tomorrow as well, including Joplin, Webb City, Carl Junction. For a full list of school closures as well as event and meeting cancellations due to weather, head on over to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A Columbus, Kansas woman is dead after a wreck yesterday. It happened at noon on Northwest Bethlehem Road, about 6 miles west of K7. 54-year-old Pamela White was traveling west when her vehicle went airborne while crossing railroad tracks. Police say after it landed, it went off the road, striking a tree. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Well, Joplin City staff has come up with a master plan to upgrade and possibly even expand Joplin's many parks, and they're going to be soon presenting it to the City Council. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to Joplin City Manager Nick Edwards about the park plan's major goals.
The city of Joplin says it has one of the largest municipal park departments in the entire state, and city management believes growing and maintaining those parks is integral to improving life in Joplin.
Parks in this day and age are seen as an economic development driver. We need to make sure that we've got something that is a destination for Joplin so that we're attracting others.
After receiving input from Joplin residents, the park plan's authors zeroed in on 5 main goals they think will improve the city's park systems. They include prioritizing safety, educating the masses, cultivating health and wellness, improving connectivity, and developing destinations.
One of the big themes in the Parks Master Plan is this idea of creating more destination-like parks. A lot of our parks could stand to have a good upgrade. There are other amenities that the community wants, such as some trails and connectivity efforts.
Attracting visitors and new residents is the goal of every growing city. But city officials say the parks plan was also developed with Joplin's 50,000 residents in mind, which is why a big part of the plan is keeping those parks many Joplinites have grown up with in tip-top shape.
There's also some kind of infrastructure things that we need to address with your traditional lighting or security systems and things that we need to do to protect our parks and protect our citizens.
There's a whole lot more to the 159-page Joplin Parks and Recreation Roadmap, which is meant to guide the growth of the city's parks for the next decade. You can read it in its entirety by checking out this story on KOAMnewsnow.com. In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
The park's master plan was going to be presented to Joplin's City Council this evening, but that meeting was canceled because of weather. Well, the KOAM Morning Show today interviewed U.S. Senator from Missouri Josh Hawley. He's come under fire in recent months for his push to contest the results of the presidential election, claiming there was possible voter fraud that should be investigated. Senator Hawley has also been partly blamed for the January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. After the assault, many conservative political figures, including former President Trump, had their social media accounts suspended, even banned. We asked Senator Hawley when it's appropriate to take those steps.
policies need to be applied even-handedly. What worries me right now, we're in the midst of a major social media crackdown against conservatives. I mean, you've just seen dozens and dozens and dozens of very prominent conservatives, let alone folks who are just going about their daily lives, get kicked off of Twitter, get censored on Facebook, Instagram, and it's really a remarkable thing to see. And this is not an even-handed application of their own policies. I mean, they are clearly targeting conservatives and conservative speech.
You can find the full interview with Senator Hawley on the morning show page of our website, again, KOAMnewsnow.com. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are about to go through former President Trump's second impeachment trial, but this time there are questions on whether it's even constitutional, since, of course, Mr. Trump is no longer in office. The former president's lawyers calling it political theater. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more on the eve of the trial.
Former President Trump's lawyers are preparing for Tuesday's start to the impeachment trial, where they plan to lay out two arguments, releasing a new legal brief Monday saying, first, the entire proceeding is unconstitutional because, quote, he is now both factually and legally a private citizen, and that President Trump's rally speech is not to blame for the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Quote, House managers played shamefully fast and loose with the truth as they cherry-picked its content. President Trump himself will not testify at the trial, which is expected to wrap up much faster than the first one. The Democratic House managers will rely less on witnesses and more on videos of Mr. Trump's January 6th speech and others on the campaign trail. They argue the speech is not protected by the Constitution. Quote, as a matter of law and logic, not to mention simple common sense, his attempted reliance on free speech principles is utterly baseless. And they argue even though he's no longer in office, there must be consequences. Quote, President Trump merits conviction and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. While in the days immediately after the riots, some Republicans bucked the president. Now most GOP senators just want to move on.
I do not believe that his words incited a violent insurrection against this country.
When something as horrible, as dastardly that happened on January 6th occurs, you cannot sweep it under the rug.
Tuesday will kick off with a vote in the Senate over the constitutionality of the trial. Then each side will have 16 hours to present their case before questioning. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
First member of Congress passes away after contracting coronavirus. Fox News correspondent Ray Bogan has more on that. Plus, how the Biden administration is pledging Americans that more help is on the way.
President Biden virtually toured the State Farm football stadium in Glendale, Arizona, that's now being used as a 24-hour mass vaccination center.
Tell me about the number of volunteers.
President Biden wants 150 million vaccine doses administered during his first 100 days in office. But he's also hoping Congress will administer an economic shot in the arm with legislation.
This important historic work will give hundreds of millions of Americans the relief they need.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are experiencing the virus's impacts directly. Texas Representative Ron Wright died after testing positive several weeks ago. Wright was one of many Republicans who want targeted relief, especially for small businesses, and called for reopening schools.
We should help single mothers go back to work by having their kids back in school. We can help grow our economy by simply focusing on the right things.
The Biden plan is $1.9 trillion and includes measures like $1,400 stimulus checks. House Democrats also propose giving parents $3,600 per child under the age of 6 and $3,000 for kids ages 6 to 17. Families would receive payments in monthly installments, and they'll phase out for people making $75,000 a year or more. The White House says this proposal is in line with the Biden campaign promise to reduce child poverty.
But that's, again, emergency funding and something that will help people get through this period of time.
Republican Senator Mitt Romney is making a similar proposal. He suggests giving families $350 a month for young children and $250 a month for school-age children. Ray Bogan, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor one of our four state heroes, David Thresher, served in the U.S. Army, spending time in Iraq. And we are proud to thank Sergeant David Thresher, a native of Carl Junction. He's tonight's four-state hero. Nick is up next with a complete look at the forecast. A bit later in sports, a local athlete earns MIAA recognition as Player of the Week.
We're just going to dive right in, everybody, or right on in, I should say, rather. You can see how today's look from Indigo Sky just looked no different than the other day on our Super Bowl Sunday. We had cloudy skies again, freezing drizzle again. For some of you, though, it's going to start tapering off a bit as we head into the overnight. With that said, though, we still have winter weather advisories for areas along and east of 69, for southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, and even going into northeast Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas. All because of the setup that we've had in place. We had cloud cover, freezing drizzle yesterday, still in place for today. And even though it's hard to pick up on the radar, we crank it up to 11 on this view, and we can see some heavier pockets of freezing rain skirting south of Springfield, around Branson, Table Rock Lake, and a couple more pockets skirting around and south of Grand Lake. Otherwise, temperatures probably didn't need me to tell you it's cold once again. We had actually midnight highs right around 30. Then we fell through the 20s for much of the day and started dropping back into the teens as early as this evening, around 4 or 5 o'clock. And that's pretty much where we're still sitting right now. In fact, we're at 15 in Joplin, mostly cloudy skies. Looks like the airport getting a little bit of a breather from the freezing drizzle, but it still feels like 2 with a north wind at 12 miles per hour. 11 in Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada Yates Center. Lower 20s once you hop south of I-44, but no matter where you are tonight, everyone's cold, with roads still messy, with temperatures not going anywhere else from here on out. As far as the broader view of the Skywatch Storm Tracker goes, at least we're not alone dealing with this. We have freezing drizzle stretching from Oklahoma, central Kansas, all the way through southern Missouri and northern parts of Arkansas. We had a stationary front at the surface to help provide the lift to get the freezing drizzle and keep it going throughout the day. That's starting to shove off toward the southeast. That'll help us out a little bit tomorrow, but I'll emphasize a little bit, because in the grand scheme of things, the upper level setup still shows this upper low around Winnipeg and Moosonee in charge, and it still has some more tricks up its sleeve. As far as tonight goes, areas along and east of 69, northeast Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, that's where we could still see some areas of freezing drizzle as we head toward the morning commute. So if you have to be on the roads, you have to be very cautious as you do so. Otherwise, just stay at home, and hopefully the crews can help improve the roads somewhat throughout the day tomorrow. And fortunately, Doug and I have been looking at things, we might see fewer pockets of freezing drizzle as we head into Tuesday. So some of you could get a chance to get a breather in the action, but everyone stays cloudy and it stays cold. 14 in the morning, 20 by noon, afternoon highs around 23. Once we get a little bit of a breather Tuesday afternoon, I see the freezing drizzle and even sleet chances wanting to pick back up early Wednesday morning, and trying to mix in with some snow for some if we get more moisture and get cold enough upstairs. So we'll watch that for Wednesday. Sleet and snow chances are what I'm seeing for Thursday. We'll catch a break on Friday with mostly cloudy skies. Then we've got a decent shot still of snow wanting to work in on Saturday. But look at these temperatures, though. 23 tomorrow, lower 20s Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. 18 on Saturday. We could be dropping to lows below 0 for Sunday and Monday, Jordan. And if you had to twist my arm, I don't see us getting back above freezing until maybe next Wednesday or Thursday.
I think that's something. You walk outside and it feels like a deep freeze, no doubt.
That's remarkable. And hopefully by the time we get back above freezing late next week, it'll feel like a heat wave by then.
It probably will. They kept with you a bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, besides the Chiefs' loss, there are other concerns after the Super Bowl.
Celebrations lasting into the night after Tampa's Super Bowl win, but the city's mayor saying something put a damper on the festivities. I'm Robert Sherman with the details coming up.
Join us for news.
Super Bowl weekend was packed with celebrations, many of them maskless. Just hours after the Tampa Bay Bucks took home the trophy, the city's mayor says she is frustrated by the revelry, especially as efforts were made to try to stop the spread of the virus. Fox News multimedia reporter Robert Sherman has this story.
It's great. It was amazing watching the Bucks win a Super Bowl in our hometown.
In their hometown.
Woo!
It was cause for celebration in Tampa after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took home the Lombardi Trophy in Super Bowl 55. The historic win prompting revelers to fill the streets. Thousands maskless. And despite repeated pleas for a safe event, it was a similar scene at Super Bowl parties spanning the weekend, with fans not heeding social distancing calls, packing bars and pregame events. Some cheering and hugging without masks, which were mandated by officials. Just hours after the weekend came to a close, Tampa's mayor, Jane Castor, said she wasn't pleased by what she saw.
Everyone knows
that simply wearing a mask dramatically reduces the spread of COVID-19.
Castor, who is concerned about the Super Bowl becoming a super spreader event, took steps to curb the spread of COVID-19, including handing out roughly 200,000 masks and signing an executive order last month ordering face coverings, even outdoors, or face up to a $500 fine. With the Bucs becoming the first team to play and win a Super Bowl on their home field, the city is planning to officially and safely celebrate their victory.
We can't have a historical event of this significance in our community and not celebrate. So we will do it in a safe manner.
Officials are still hammering out the details of that celebration and will be releasing the plan later this week. Robert Sherman, Fox News.
Just ahead, moving towards in-person learning again.
Chicago and San Francisco move closer to getting kids back in school. I'm Mike Tobin in Chicago. Details coming up.
School districts across the country remain at odds over how to safely open up those classrooms, but standoffs could be coming to an end in Chicago and San Francisco, where tentative agreements have been reached. Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin has more.
Chicago public school students could start returning to the classroom as early as this week. The city school district and teachers union reaching a tentative agreement. As part of the deal, teachers will have the opportunity to be fully vaccinated before returning.
I am confident that the measures that we have and will put in place will make our schools even safer than they already are.
San Francisco School District also reaching a tentative deal with teachers using California's 4-tier reopening system. If the city falls under the red tier when COVID positive test rates are between 5 and 8%, teachers would return if vaccines are made available. They would return regardless of vaccine availability under the orange tier when the testing falls between 2 and 4.9%. And in Philadelphia, the teachers union instructing its members not to go into the classroom today, citing COVID-19 safety concerns. Teachers were supposed to begin preparations for hybrid learning, scheduled to start later this month.
They are working remotely because they refuse to risk their lives in order to sit in school buildings that are unsafe.
Meanwhile, the CDC's director announcing today school reopening guidance will be announced this week. Under former President Trump, the agency created a 5-tier risk assessment for schools.
If the CDC comes out and reaffirms that teachers don't need to be vaccinated, but all these other measures need to be in place, then we've got a roadmap to getting these kids back in schools.
President Biden has pledged to reopen most kindergarten through 8th grade schools within his first 100 days. In Chicago, Mike Tobin, Fox News.
Going to hear about one man's talents of making unique gifts of art right from the heart. More on this. Skittles. More on this when we come back.
Get frozen in time at the Pit Post Casino.
A product intended to go to waste instead becomes a work of beauty at the hands of an artist who learned his craft in prison. That man right there, Michael Stone, spent 5 years in prison for drug offenses. And while there, he learned how to make colorful paper roses. Look at that, using toilet paper and Skittles. The Arizona man has hung on to the hobby and is still turning out this unique artwork. It's a detailed process that can take an entire hour just to make a single rose. Now, Stone says he started selling his creations when he got out of prison, but now just gives them away for free. Aren't they beautiful? Good for him for doing that too. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way. Parents in Miami frustrated over why their kids still had school today despite those dangerous conditions outside. Also,
the coronavirus strain first detected in the UK is spreading rapidly. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
Today's icy road conditions were worrying, especially for parents in Miami taking their children to school. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with one concerned parent, also a superintendent in charge of the decision to initially keep schools open.
Recent weather advisories in Miami have raised concerns about the safety of in-person learning. So when Miami Public Schools announced they would be in session this morning, parents were frustrated.
It's icy. My driveway, my porch, everything is covered in ice.
That's Heather Vanna, a mother whose children attend school in Miami. Although she was nervous to drive in today's slippery conditions, she believed having her kids stay home would cause them to fall behind.
And all I was thinking is, like, should I make that call of keeping my kids home or not? And I was like, I'm going to do it because if not, my kids are going to get counted absent.
Miami School Superintendent Jeremy Hogan clarified that they want to work with students who originally stayed home.
We had, families that kept kids home today, which is perfectly fine.
He says this morning he felt comfortable that the school district could get students to class safely, but once the weather took a turn, so did their decision.
No, I apologize. It was a mistake today. Unfortunately, if I could roll back time multiple hours, we wouldn't have had school today. But we did, and we worked to ensure they were safe in the school buildings, and if we could get them home earlier in a safe manner, we worked to do that.
Later this morning, Jeremy issued out an apology and allowed parents to pick their kids up at any time in the day to make up for any issues that came from bringing them to school. In Miami, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The Miami school superintendent says they try to use data from the National Weather Service as well as from local officials to ensure they are making the safest possible decision for staff and students. A new study reveals Americans aren't eating those fruits and veggies, enough of them. According to a 2015 to 2018 survey, 95% of adults consumed vegetables on any given day, but only about 67% consumed fruit. The research shows a higher percentage of women ate fruits and starchy vegetables compared to men. Consumption of fruits and veggies also increased with income. Doctors say obtaining the recommended amount of fruit and vegetables improves overall health. It reduces the risk of chronic disease. The National Center for Health Statistics published these findings. The study reveals the extent of the side effects that patients experience after receiving the first dose of their COVID-19 vaccine. The study is based on a sample of 40,000 vaccination shots across the UK. Researchers found that more than 1/3 of patients had some sort of side effect after getting the first dose. These side effects were mostly mild and ranged from fatigue and headaches to swelling around the injection area. People under the age of 55, under the age of 55 also more likely to suffer some sort of side effect versus those over the age of 55. Researchers also adding that people who previously had the virus were twice as likely to experience one or more side effects. The data in the study was taken from healthcare workers that received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Well, Delta extending its middle seat blocking policy through April. The airline saying today it wants to ensure customers can continue to confidently plan and book their spring travel. Delta has been offering more space through seat blocking on flights ever since April of last year. It is now one of the only major airlines to offer this perk to travelers. Most carriers like Southwest, American, United lifted their restrictions over the holidays. The middle seat blocking policy was put in place during the pandemic to create more distance between passengers, of course. It was later dropped after several airlines began citing studies which showed onboard air circulation and HEPA filtration could keep passengers safe from the virus. Joplin Health Department reports one more death attributed to COVID-19. The patient was a 64-year-old male. There are now 123 deaths in Joplin attributed to COVID-19. The UK strain of the coronavirus continues to spread across the country. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has the latest coronavirus headlines from Atlanta.
The highly contagious COVID-19 variant, first detected in the UK, is now spreading rapidly throughout the U.S., doubling around every 10 days, according to a new study. It has not been published or peer-reviewed, but was posted Sunday on preprint server medRxiv. The strain is known as B117, and researchers predict it could become the most prevalent in the nation by next month. The group determined that the new variant arrived in the U.S. as early as November.
Please remember that the efficacy of the currently utilized vaccines, the 2 mRNA, are quite effective against the 117 lineage.
Meanwhile, the federal government will begin shipping COVID-19 vaccines directly to pharmacies this week in the first phase of a public-private partnership to expand access to more Americans. The plan is to start with 1 million doses per week, with hopes to accelerate the pace as vaccine makers boost production. In Colorado, teachers and those 65 years or older will be able to get their shots starting today. And in Oregon, officials have started vaccinating seniors over 80.
Incrementally adding in seniors each week will help avoid some of the nightmares we've seen in other states.
So far, the CDC has detected the UK coronavirus strain in at least 33 states. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seary, Fox News.
Authorities in northern India continue the search for survivors of a catastrophic flood caused from a glacier breakoff. Part of the glacier that broke apart in the Himalayas fell into a river, creating a devastating avalanche of water and debris. It slid down a mountain gorge, as we're seeing right there, and crashed through a dam, hitting multiple people. 2 hydroelectric plants as well. At least a dozen people are dead. Around 170 are still unaccounted for. As of now, rescue efforts are focused on clearing sludge and debris from a tunnel at one of the plants where dozens of workers are believed to be trapped. A bit later, trying to rescue business during an ongoing pandemic.
Some states are loosening COVID restrictions, but is it enough to help struggling businesses? I'm Ashley Strohmeyer with what small business owners have to say about the new guidelines coming up.
Shaking things up a bit for our second full weather segment here. We're starting off with a look at MoDOT's roads, and goodness, the roads everywhere are a mess. And keep in mind, these are most of the major roads that are being popped up on the map, so you imagine how nasty the side roads can be. Take your pick. I-49, I-44, 59 on the Missouri side, 97, 39. They're either partly covered or completely covered with all the freezing drizzle that we picked up throughout the course of the day. If there's any good news heading into the overnight and Tuesday, we might get a bit of a break in the action before it picks back up again on Wednesday. Still winter weather advisories for everybody in the blue until midnight, as we kick off the overnight hours ahead of us. And drizzle in and of itself, whether it's regular drizzle or freezing drizzle, it's nasty in its own right, because not only is it too small to be picked up on radar, but with this setup, drizzle can actually exist in liquid form, even if it's formed very low in the atmosphere and sitting between 14 and 32 degrees. Because of the structure of the drizzle, it can't turn into ice right away. So even as it falls, it's freezing drizzle, nasty stuff that we have to contend with for a little while longer before we can hopefully see at least a bit of a change and hopefully a bit of an improvement over the next few days. Right now it's 15 in Joplin, feels like 2 with a north breeze at 12 miles per hour. At least Joplin looks as though getting a little bit of a break in the action in terms of the drizzle. Everyone's cold though, from the lower teens up north to the upper teens and some lower 20s south of I-44. Again, can't pick it up on the radar, but some areas of freezing drizzle still out there. At least we're not alone dealing with this mess. We had freezing drizzle across parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, the southern parts of Missouri, northern parts of Arkansas. At the surface, we had the stationary front today being the culprit to get the surface moisture to lift up and produce that drizzle once again. And upstairs, it's still all about that upper low around Winnipeg, Moosonee, north of Minneapolis. That still has some more tricks up its sleeve. In the short term, though, let's keep things cloudy all across the board tonight. Some areas of drizzle, freezing drizzle, will still be around. So if you have to be on the roads tonight, be very careful if you must. Otherwise, everyone starts in the mid-teens in the morning around Joplin, colder to the north, maybe a bit warmer to the south. And we'll try our best to get back into the lower 20s, if not a few mid-20s, with some areas seeing the freezing drizzle taper off during the day tomorrow. Hopefully we can get some more areas to get a break in the action then. 14 in the morning, 20 by noon, highs around 23. Then we see the next wave with this monstrous Arctic upper level low. Bring in another shot for freezing drizzle, sleet, and snow on Wednesday. I'm thinking snow and sleet chances still looking light as we head toward Thursday. Friday's looking like a completely dry day with mostly cloudy skies. It's still going to be cold, though. Then we'll have another system bringing the good chances for snow as we head towards Saturday, and then another shot by next Monday. 23 tomorrow, 24 Wednesday, 22 on Thursday, 20 on Friday. Then look at the temperatures for early next week, Jordan. 18 on Saturday to a high of 10 on Sunday, 14 on Monday, and it's still very possible lows can start below 0 by Sunday and Monday morning.
Jeez, I think you hit it right, Nick Kelly, when you said it's just nasty outside.
Oh, believe me, I wish I was wrong about this one.
Me too. All right, thanks so much. Coming up in sports, Missouri Southern's Cam Martin receiving league honors. Plus, a look back at what went wrong for the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 55.
Where's the hero?
Last minute this morning.
Get obsessed.
I told you, he's
with Monk.
Today at 9, right here on Fox 14.
An NFL season, like no other, comes to a close. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9 on Sunday. The Bucks are the Super Bowl 55 champions, securing the feat in front of a limited capacity hometown crowd. Kansas City fell short on Sunday. The Chiefs, known for their prolific offense, couldn't generate much of anything. They scored just 3 field goals in the game. The Bucks kept them out of the end zone all night.
And then they just rallied to the ball and tackled. It was a good game plan. I mean, we had some good plays here and there, but overall they did a good job of finding ways to kind of stall our drives out.
Mahomes knows that moving forward, other teams will try to mimic the Bucks' game plan.
So we're going to have to do better things and be more efficient. And that really goes with me, and not always looking for the big play, but just finding ways to move the ball down the field.
You know, it's always a great challenge anytime you're going against a great quarterback, but also, you know, a double-headed monster, you know, what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got. I was most proud of the goal line stand. I think that's our character. I think that's who we are as a defense. And, you know, it just sucks. You know, like I said, you got to learn from these moments, try your best to grow from them.
Tampa Bay dominated all over the field, on offense and on defense.
Just really proud of all the guys, proud of all the coaches, the effort we put in. We knew we were playing a great football team tonight, and we got the job done.
It's the second Super Bowl win for the Buccaneers franchise, and Tom Brady's 7th. At 43 and surrounded by new talent, Brady led Tampa Bay all the way. Missouri Southern's Cam Martin is the MIAA Player of the Week. He is earning the honor for the second straight week. Cam Martin helped his team to 2 victories in 3 games last week. The senior averaged 27.7 points and 13 rebounds in that span. The Lions beat Lincoln and Central Missouri and are now 10-7. The game against Lincoln was a special one for Martin. He posted a big double-double, 24 points, and a career-high 21 rebounds. Martin now sits in 3rd place on Missouri Southern's all-time scoring list. It's the start of a new week, and that means new men's basketball rankings. But this week's rankings look a little bit different from previous weeks past. The Kansas Jayhawks are nowhere to be found. The Jayhawks are 12-7 on the season, a record not strong enough to keep them in the Associated Press's top 25 poll. Last week, they were ranked 23rd. A historically dominant program, Kansas has been ranked in every single AP poll for the past 12 years. That's a record streak. After a hot start to the season, the Jayhawks have lost 5 of their last 7 games, including their most recent one, this one here, on Saturday. West Virginia beat Kansas by double digits. Kansas has a chance to bounce back tonight. They host Big 12 conference opponent and number 23 ranked Oklahoma State. The Cowboys won the first meeting between the two teams 75-70 back in January. Kansas has the lead right now. It's 48-41 with 9:52 left to play in the second. Marcus Garrett leads the way for the Jayhawks right now with 12 points. We'll be back with more news after this.
Tuesday.
New coronavirus cases are starting to drop across the country, prompting some states to scale back their restrictions. Fox News correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer reports on how the new guidelines will impact businesses and what the people that are intended to help have to say about them.
I really wish they had a little more indoor dining. It's just, I'm obviously a little cold.
Diners braving the cold to get a bite to eat may soon be able to snag a coveted table indoors as states like New York are loosening their coronavirus restrictions.
New York City restaurants, on our current trajectory, we can reopen indoor dining at 25% on Valentine's Day.
But businesses and customers alike are struggling to understand why they have to wait.
I really don't see any difference between the Valentine's Day weekend or tomorrow per se. You know, we're still going to follow all protocols.
In Massachusetts, places like gyms and restaurants can now operate at 40% capacity, a jump from 25%.
25% you can't pay. I mean, you can pay your direct costs, but you can't pay like the rent and the utilities.
It's something businesses are trying to be optimistic about.
Place like this, we basically have 100 seating capacity, so now instead of 25, we can have 40, which going into the Valentine's Day weekend, I think is, huge.
Beyond businesses, there are also looser restrictions for houses of worship. Churches in California were allowed to reopen for indoor services this weekend after the state Supreme Court agreed California's ban violated religious liberty.
There's nothing going on in this church that's never been proven that was bad. Nothing is bad when you go to church to become a good person.
When it comes to churches in California, they're gaining inches, not miles. Churches can only operate at 25 to 50% capacity, depending on how bad cases are in their area. Officials can still ban all singing and chanting inside. Ashley Strohmeyer, Fox News.
Gonna get the rundown of some entertainment coming your way this week, right here on Fox when we come back. All new episodes of hit Fox series are coming up this week, including the competition heating up on The Masked Singer, The Masked Dancer. And they could be singing while they're dancing, I don't know. But the actual title is called The Masked Dancer. And new series premieres over the weekend. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
4 finalists return to the Masked Dancer stage. Here's what's hot on Fox.
My name is Stanley Whitworth, and I just planted a bomb.
Monday, it's back-to-back action and drama, starting with 911's 118 taking on a bomb threat. Then on 911 Lone Star, the 126 is called to an emergency at a wedding.
16 years ago, I blew the great relationship of my life.
Plus, Owen and Gwyneth work on relationship labels, and TK meets Carlos' parents.
How do you smile when...
Tuesday on The Resident, the Chastain team raced to save Nick after she's injured by a patient.
Someone needs to catch this killer.
That's followed by Prodigal Son with both Malcolm and Ainsley on the case of the so-called debutante slayings.
The Masked Dancer semifinal.
Wednesday, it's the Masked Dancer semifinals with guest panelist Will Arnett as Zebra, Tulip, Cotton Candy, and Sloth compete for a place in the final 3.
Think you gotta keep me as you.
Then it's the musical game of Name That Tune with Jane Krakowski and Randy Jackson.
Are you ready to rock?
Thursday rocks on with cooking challenges on Hell's Kitchen.
Let's talk about sweat, baby.
Then it's Fox's new Mayim Bialik comedy, Call Me Kat.
Jesus shaves.
And the laughs continue with Last Man Standing and guest star Bill Engvall. WWE superstars take over for WWE Friday Night SmackDown.
Pump to the leg to win the gold and a kick.
And get ready for 2 big premieres Valentine's Day. The Jason Biggs hosted game show Cherries Wild and the animated comedy The Great North. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Told ya they were singing while dancing. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with a volcano erupting. Mount Etna over in Italy. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.